The security guards thought my sister Celeste was lying about everything, until they saw what was hidden at the bottom of her backpack. Picture this, it's 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I'm getting ready for bed when my phone explodes with the most panicked call I've ever received. My younger sister Celeste is sobbing so hard I can barely understand her words. She's trying to tell me that campus security just detained her for 3 hours, dumped everything from her backpack onto a table in the middle of the packed student union, and accused her of being a thief. Celeste has always been the quiet one in our family. At 19, she's a sophomore at State University, the kind of student who sits in the back row, turns in every assignment early, and has maybe spoken up in class 3 times total. She works nights at the campus library just to afford textbooks, and most people don't even know her name. She's never been in trouble for anything, not even a parking ticket. But tonight, according to the head of campus security, she's supposedly stolen something worth thousands of dollars. Something so valuable that when they found it in her possession, they couldn't believe someone like her could legitimately own it. The security chief looked her dead in the eye and said, "Nice try, kid, but we know you didn't earn this." Celeste tells me through her tears that dozens of students gathered around to watch the spectacle. Phones came out. Videos were recorded. She could hear people whispering, making assumptions about her character, about our family, about why a scholarship kid from the wrong side of town would have something so precious. The worst part wasn't even the accusation. It was watching classmates she'd sat next to for months suddenly look at her like she was capable of stealing from heroes. As I'm listening to her recount every humiliating detail, something builds inside my chest that I haven't felt since we were kids and neighborhood bullies would pick on her for wearing hand-me-down clothes. Nobody messes with my sister. Nobody makes her feel small. And tonight, I was going to make sure everyone understood exactly who Celeste really is and what she carries with her every single day. But here's what I didn't know yet, what the security guards didn't know, what none of those recording students could have guessed. The item they found in Celeste's backpack wasn't just valuable, it was sacred. It represented a sacrifice so profound that 3 generations of our family had protected its story. And in about an hour, when I arrived on that campus with phone calls made and documents gathered, every person in that room was going to understand the difference between theft and inheritance. See, Celeste and I have been each other's backup since our dad walked out 12 years ago. Our mother Diane works double shifts at the county hospital, so we learned early to take care of each other. I've seen my sister handle every challenge life threw at her with quiet dignity, but tonight someone had crossed a line that I wasn't going to let stand. Celeste has always been the invisible one in our family. While I was the loud, outgoing kid who played varsity sports, she preferred books and staying in the background. Our father left when she was 8, and our mother Diane worked constantly to keep us afloat. Celeste learned early that the safest place was being unnoticed. She's now a sophomore at State University on partial academic scholarship, working nights at the campus library to pay for textbooks and meals. She lives in the oldest dorm on campus, keeps to herself, and has maybe 2 close friends. Most students barely know she exists. Her professors see her as a good student but nothing exceptional, quiet, hardworking, but unremarkable. That Tuesday started like any other. Celeste was walking through the student union after her evening shift at the library, backpack slung over her shoulder when she noticed something wasn't right. 2 campus security guards were following her, whispering and pointing. She tried to ignore it, but when she sat down to grab a quick coffee before heading back to her dorm, they approached her table. Celeste described feeling that familiar knot in her stomach, the same one she got whenever authority figures singled her out. She immediately assumed she'd done something wrong, even though she couldn't think of what it could be. Officer Martinez, the head of campus security, approaches Celeste's table with Officer Chen close behind. "Excuse me, miss, we need to check your bag." When Celeste asks why, Martinez responds, "We have reports of stolen property matching something you're carrying." They claim someone reported seeing her with an expensive item that was recently stolen from the university's athletics department. Celeste is confused because she has no idea what they're talking about. When she asks what specifically they're looking for, Martinez just says, "You'll know when we find it." Right there in the busy student union, they make her empty every single item from her backpack onto the table. Students start gathering around, phones come out, and Celeste feels her face burning with shame. Out come her worn textbooks, her half-broken laptop, her work uniform, some granola bars she'd saved from the dining hall, and finally, at the very bottom, a small black velvet pouch she'd almost forgotten was there. When Martinez opens the pouch, his expression changes completely. Inside is a military medal, specifically a Purple Heart with an accompanying certificate. The name on the certificate reads, First Lieutenant David Morrison, United States Army. Martinez looks at the medal, then at Celeste, then back at the medal. "Where did you get this?" he demands. Celeste's voice barely comes out as a whisper. "It was my grandfather's." But Martinez shakes his head. "This is worth thousands of dollars. There's no way a student like you legitimately owns something like this." The crowd grows larger, and Celeste can hear people murmuring, some taking videos, others making assumptions about her character. For the first time in her life, Celeste doesn't back down. Something about the way Martinez said, "A student like you," ignites something inside her. She stands up straighter and says, "Call my brother. His number is in my phone. He'll tell you exactly where this medal came from." I race to campus after getting her call, arriving to find Celeste in the security office with red eyes and the medal sitting on Martinez's desk like evidence in a crime scene. The security chief immediately starts questioning me. "Your sister claims this belonged to your grandfather. Do you have any proof of that?" Martinez explains that Purple Hearts are frequently stolen and sold online for significant money. He's seen too many cases of students trying to profit from military honors they didn't earn. He tells us that unless we can provide concrete proof of ownership, they'll have to confiscate the medal and investigate further. Celeste could face disciplinary action or even criminal charges. I look at my sister, this quiet, honest person who wouldn't steal a pen from the library and make a choice that will change everything. I pull out my phone and start making calls, starting with our mother, then moving on to contacts I haven't used in years. "Give me 1 hour," I tell Martinez. "I'll get you the proof you need." My first call is to our mother, Diane, who's in the middle of her night shift at the hospital. Through the phone's speaker, so Martinez can hear, she explains that the medal belonged to her father, David Morrison, who died in Vietnam when she was just 2 years old. She gave it to Celeste on her 18th birthday because Celeste had always been fascinated by family history. But Martinez isn't satisfied with just our mother's word. That's when I remember something crucial, our grandfather's military records. I call our Uncle Raymond, our mother's brother, who lives across the country. Raymond, now 65, has spent years researching our family's military history. He immediately sends digital copies of documents none of us knew he had. David Morrison's military service record, the official citation for his Purple Heart, and even a 1969 newspaper clipping about his death in combat. Martinez calls the Department of Veterans Affairs to verify the serial number on the medal against their records. After 20 minutes on hold, the confirmation comes through. The medal is authentic, legitimately awarded to First Lieutenant David Morrison, and there are no reports of it being stolen or missing. The atmosphere in the security office completely shifts. Martinez's suspicion turns to embarrassment. Officer Chen looks uncomfortable. But the most powerful moment comes when Martinez hands the medal back to Celeste and says, "I owe you an apology. Your grandfather was a hero." Instead of accepting the apology gracefully, Celeste surprises everyone, including me. She looks Martinez directly in the eye and says, "The problem isn't that you thought the medal was stolen. The problem is that you assumed I was the kind of person who would steal it without knowing anything about me except what I look like." Campus security issues a formal apology to Celeste, and Martinez personally walks her back to her dorm to make sure no one bothers her about the incident. The videos that students took get deleted after the security office explains the situation. But the damage to Celeste's reputation takes longer to repair. Something fundamental changes in Celeste after that night. She stops trying to be invisible. She starts speaking up in classes, joins the Student Veterans Family Support Group, and begins sharing our grandfather's story with others. The quiet girl who used to hide in the library becomes someone who stands up for herself and others. Our relationship as siblings deepens significantly. Celeste tells me later that seeing me fight for her that night meant more than any apology from security ever could. "You believed me when no one else did," she says, "even when it would have been easier to doubt me." 3 months later, Celeste uses her experience to start a campus initiative about bias in security procedures. She presents our grandfather's story, and her own, to the university administration, leading to new training for campus security about assumptions and prejudice. Martinez, surprisingly, becomes one of the program's biggest supporters. The medal now sits in a frame in Celeste's dorm room, no longer hidden at the bottom of a backpack. She tells me it reminds her daily that she comes from a family of people who fought for what was right, and that sometimes the most important battles aren't fought on foreign soil. They're fought in student unions, offices, and classrooms where people decide who deserves respect and who doesn't. That night taught me something important. Sometimes the people we underestimate the most are the ones carrying the heaviest honors. And sometimes protecting someone's dignity is just as heroic as anything that happens on a battlefield.